When the other monks, when the other people saw, oh, they thought, oh, Buddha, there's no hope for this old monk. So Buddha has just given him a simple job in a monastic courtyard and just left him alone there. Seemingly, it looked like a non-dharmic action, and Buddha was just letting him off. But by doing that, by years and years and years of practice, he was able to purify the negative karma that was defiling his mind. He was able to purify that completely and realize emptiness or realize reality, shunyata, within his life. Within this life, this monk was not able to gain enlightenment, but he was able to gain a non-returner status, which is he does not have to return back to samsara like us without any kind of control, without any kind of, how to say, wish. He is a non-returner. He has reached the state of an arhat, one that has realized emptiness and therefore has pulled himself from non-conscious or uncontrolled existence or uncontrolled reincarnation, freeing himself from that. He was able to see that one lifetime without a lot of book study, without a lot of extensive meditations and prayers, without a lot of extensive debate, without a lot of extensive practices. Simply by following the Buddha, simply by having faith, simply by trusting and doing, he was able to purify and became an arhat in a single lifetime. So Buddhas have the skill to teach, to convey the Dharma in ordinary means, in non-ordinary means, in ways that seemingly does not look like dharmic methods, or seemingly does not seem like it accords with the Dharma, but actually it does. This comes from his ability of having skillful means, his second quality. The third one is he has even-mindedness or impartiality toward all things. He has no partiality whatsoever. Whether it be his closest friend, his closest attendants, whether it be a distant friend, whether it be not a friend, an enemy, someone that hurts him, Buddha has completely no attachments whatsoever. In the example that during the time when Buddha's, after he became enlightened, Buddha's son, Rahula, became very, very ill, became very, very sick. When Buddha was back in his native town to preach the Dharma, to teach the Dharma to his relatives, to the king, and also to the people, then at that time his son Rahula became very sick, and they called Buddha to heal him. When Buddha came near Rahula, he proclaimed in front of everyone there, if my love or my enemy, my cousin Devadatta, or the enemy Devadatta is the same as it is for my son, may he become well. At that very instant, his son became well, which shows that Buddha has even-mindedness, impartiality, no partiality toward enemies, toward friends, people who like him, people who don't like him, people who harm him or not. His mind is impartial. Why? All traces of partiality, all traces of prejudice have been completely rooted out from his mind. By its instinct, it cannot exist. So if we have taken a weed out of the ground, if the weed has been taken out well, pulled out by the roots, the weed cannot grow again. The ground will be weedless. It will be clean and plain. Whereas if we pull out the weed and the roots are still there, again they'll sprout. If we pull it out from the head, again they'll sprout. Again it'll sprout again and again and again and again. Like that, Buddha is, the delusions in his mind is like that weed that has been pulled out completely through aeons and aeons of meditations, through aeons and aeons of contemplation, through aeons and aeons of moral practice, and completely has rooted out all those delusions. So no delusion can remain to create a delusional state such as partiality. It cannot remain. Also, Buddha has the wish to help others regardless of what others have done to himself. He has no differentiations, none at all. Then, also he has 8 rare precious qualities besides those 4 qualifications of a true refuge object. Those are the 4 qualifications required of a true object of refuge. Besides that, he has 8 special and rare qualities. Number 1, he has attained permanent cessation from all suffering, and thus is free from birth and death. He is completely free from birth and death, uncontrolled, completely. His actions come spontaneously and free of effort. Like us, when we want to sleep, it's free of effort. When we want to eat, it's free of effort because we've done it so much and we're so used to it. When we want to do negative actions, when we want to go out, it's of no effort. We can do it very easily. We can do it very nicely. We don't have to make an effort. Then, this characteristic can neither be understood nor described in words, for it is shunyata of the Buddha himself. In the same way, one cannot describe the distance in taste between brown and white sugar, yet the difference in experience. Buddha has completely realized shunyata. He has completely realized existence. He can see existence in an objective and relative. He can see it in a relative and a ultimate way. He can see reality ultimately and relatively simultaneously, like brown sugar and white sugar. Ordinary beings can see a difference, cannot taste the difference. Buddha can see the difference. Not literally the brown and white sugar, but he has realized how existence and how all phenomenon has arisen and its true nature. He can explain it. He is not lost. He has perfect compassion for all living beings, complete, like the sun that shines down upon earth, and all the rays of the sun hits every single item on this earth, regardless of whether they like the sun, they worship the sun, whether they recognize the sun, whether they know the sun or not. Like the sun, the Buddha, compassion is on all sentient beings, irrelevant of who they are, what situation they are in. It is equal. He possesses unsurpassable power and thus is greatly effective in leading others to liberation. Some beings cannot be led by teachings alone, but he must give physical evidence. In such cases, he makes use of miracle powers. The Buddha has definitely the ability of miraculous powers. Definitely. Miraculous powers of his body, his speech, and his holy mind. Then, the seventh, the Buddha has achieved his own ultimate aim, which consists of these first three qualities. Then the last one, he has attained the perfect means of delivering others, or the latter three of these qualities. He has 8 special and rare qualities that has just been mentioned. And then he has the 4 characteristics that in that we can label him a perfect object of refuge. A perfect object of refuge. Now, it is not, we have talked about refuge at other centers. I have talked about refuge to some of you on a personal basis through the other centers. I have talked about it a little bit yesterday. I will be talking a little about it today. Some of us may think, oh, we have heard it many, many times. I know it. I know the numbers. I know what he's going to say. I know what he's going to, what he's going to quote, the examples. Some of us know it intellectually. We can speak it to our friends very well. We can point our fingers to our friends. We can teach our parents. We can teach our daughters. We can teach our sisters, our mates, our brothers. We can point and we can talk and we say, yes, I know that. The numbers are like that. The effects are like that. The falls are like that. But although we know it so well, although we can describe it so eloquently, although we're such great scholars of it, why can't we destroy our negative minds? Why can't we reduce our sufferings? Although we know refuge so well, although we are taking refuge so well, although we can quote it so well. And in fact, when we argue with people, we can take some of the quotes and use it against the person so well, have it memorized and understood it so well. But why is the negative mind still arising? Why is it still happening? Why are we still suffering? Why is our view still the same? Because refuge has not sunken in. Because refuge at this point in our lives is simply something intellectual. It is something that we have challenged, we have understood. Oh, I understand it intellectually. It's like that. A is A, B is B, C is C. That's beautiful. It's lovely. A sign of that is when actually, after hearing the refuge teachings, after understanding the refuge teachings, which in itself is very deep, when something negative happens, we still react negatively. When something unpleasant happens, we still react back negatively. When something is not to our liking or to the way we like it to be, we still react back negatively. That is a clear sign that the refuge teachings has not taken root in our minds. If the refuge teachings have taken root in our minds, if a negative situation happens or a situation that we do not like or something has come about that is not pleasant to our ears and our senses and our mind, immediately we know that it's a result of our karma. We must accept it with dignity and we must not react back in a negative way. If we react back in a negative way, it shows very clearly we do not have the refuge teachings because the refuge teachings are specifically talking about the elimination of negative actions, which bring about negative results. So if you want to eliminate these negative results and you find them unpleasant, how could you be creating further negative results as a reaction to negative happenings around you? It's illogical. So after refuge, after taking refuge, after saying that I have refuge, after saying that the refuge teachings are correct, Buddhism is correct, karma is correct, previous life is correct, Buddha is correct. Buddha is infallible. The Dharma is supreme. The Sanghas are members we emulate. Although we say that from our mouths beautifully, although we can recite it, we can talk about it, and we can explain it to our mates and our friends, why is it that when negative things happen, we still react the same way? In fact, we react worse because now we use Dharma as a weapon against other people, against our friends. Why is that? Because the refuge teachings have not been put into practice. The refuge teachings have not been absorbed. Part of the reason it has not been absorbed is our conditioning. We've been acting the way we've been acting, doing the things we've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years, many, many lifetimes. It is difficult to remove. It is difficult to come out immediately. Correct. Number two, a lack of merits, a lack of spiritual practice to support the refuge to come, to support the knowledge to come. For example, a heavy amount of negative karma and very less good karma collected. Therefore, it cannot support. Like when we have a ground that is filled with nutrients and fertilizers and filled with, lime and all the nutrients necessary for a plant to grow. The minute we plant it, the plant will grow well, grow nicely, grow strongly, big, and very colorful, very vibrant. Whereas a ground that does not have all the ingredients for a certain growth, it will grow, it will come, but it'll be kind of yellowish, not really green. It'll be kind of feeble, be very thin, and doesn't grow to maturity and perhaps die off. Like that, when we have heard the refuge teachings, when we understand the refuge teachings, and we think to ourselves, oh, it's correct. It is right. The Dharma is correct. It is right. It is logically correct. And you have accepted and you take refuge. Whether you take refuge on a daily basis, whether you take refuge during teachings and you think, I accept that is correct. Or whether you take refuge in a big ceremony, once you have taken refuge, which is not something formal, which means you have accepted, which means that it sounds correct, the obvious, logical thing to do is to apply it. If we do not apply it, no matter how difficult it is, if we do not put it into action, if we do not put it into use, then what use is having knowledge of it? What use is having a lot of Dharma books, having a great altar? What use is it to be able to recite it to your friends like a wonderful tape recorder? What use is that? To understand it, to know it, to like it, but never put it into use. Never put into use. Once you hear something that is wrong, the results will be that, and you logically say, yes, that's correct. One must stop. One must listen it. One should not point fingers at each other and say, oh, you do that. It's not funny. You didn't do that. You did that yesterday. Rinpoche said you're not allowed to do that. And joke and prod at each other and say, oh, you're still doing this and doing that. In fact, you shouldn't joke about it. You shouldn't prod about it. You shouldn't talk about it with each other. In fact, you should keep your head low. In fact, you should think that is correct. I will put the refuge teachings. And one should not practice the refuge teachings just in a Dharma center, just near your Dharma friends, or during a Dharma atmosphere, or when your Rinpoches are watching, or when your teachers are watching, or when you're around people that you want to show off to. Refuge is a daily, minute-by-minute practice. In fact, the great Tsongkhapa says, the great 16th century scholar Saint Emanation of Manjushri says, it is not the meditational time, it is not the meditational retreats or the time you spend in meditation that is important. What is more important is the time in between the meditation. What is important is the time in between all your meditational sessions and retreats. Because your meditation can maybe be about 2-3 hours. Most of us about 2-3 minutes, actually, right? Or some of us, we really splurge and we say, okay, we give it 10-15 minutes. Some of us, 10-15 minutes, not even, maybe 10 minutes. Let's say on average, we do meditation 10-15 minutes, right? So, what about the 23 hours and 45 minutes that are left? Do you think that just during your meditation sessions, just during your prayer sessions, just during your sessions that you're reading your Dharma books, you're reading your prayers, you're holy, you're wonderful, the incense is just billowing, and also beautiful candles and beautiful offerings, and the Buddhas are smiling and staring at you, and you turn off your handphone, you close, you lock your doors, you tell the security guard not to send anybody up, and you're all holy and you're wonderful and you're fabulous for 10-15 minutes, and then the rest of the day, for 24 hours and 45 minutes, you're back to your old self. What type of refuge is that? That is not true refuge. That is Chinese opera. You put on a nice mask, you dance, you sing, you wail like cats, and that's it. Once the opera is finished, you're back to your normal life. So do we want to be Chinese opera stars or do we want to be Dharma stars? Now we must think, once we have taken refuge, once we have accepted Buddha, once we have accepted his holy teachings, once we have accepted, doesn't it behoove us, or doesn't it make it very smart, or isn't it logical, 2 plus 2, 4, that we start acting upon it, that we start working on it, and all the delusions that are very strong in our minds, that we start working on it? If we know the Dharma is correct, and we all have sufferings, whether it's physical or whether it's mental, gross, or very rough, any type of suffering, doesn't it behoove us to put it into practice? Not tomorrow, not when you retire, not when you're off from work, not when you're not in the office, not when you have free time, not only during weekends, not during the time when you're near your gurus or when you're near your altar, but all day, all the time. Remember, the breaks in between the meditations are more important than a meditation session. Because the breaks in between the meditations show actually if you have really meditated or not. So if you've been meditating on compassion for 10, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, and the minute you finish your meditation, you go to work, and you hurt people, you scream and shout, and you lie, and you cheat, and you steal, and you criticize, and you put other people down, and then you put yourself up, you put other people down, how can that be refuge? And then the next day again, you sit in your meditational pose, you roll your eyes, you have the incense billowing, you have the candles, and then you're sitting in front of Buddha, all holy and wonderful, with your wonderful Dharma robe, maybe some of us with fish drums, and we sit there meditating so holy, and the minute we leave our meditations, back to normal. Now, how long have we been doing that? How long have we been engaged in Dharma practice like that? And then we wonder, how come I've been reciting all these mantras, praying for so many years, making so many offerings, sponsoring so many monks, and forget knowing the other people's minds, I can't even control my own delusions. I can't even control my own anger and hatred and ignorance. Why aren't those results coming? Is it that the Buddha is lying? I don't think so. Is it that I'm not practicing something right? Bingo. Refuge is the pit. Refuge is the real practice. From refuge will stem all the other 84,000 different types of teachings that Buddha has given. Now, whether a very high reincarnated Rinpoche, the very, very incarnation of Guru Buddha Shakyamuni Buddha appears to you, or if Amitabha appears to you directly, or if Kuan Yin comes to you in your dream, or if Manjushri comes to you in your dreams, or if you have a very high Rinpoche the Dalai Lama come and speak to you about refuge, and you're in tears and you feel emotional and you feel it's wonderful and fabulous, the minute you leave that session and you're back to normal, what effect is that? What benefit does that bring? Do you think seeing Kuan Yin will avoid you going to the 3 lower realms? Do you think seeing the Dalai Lama will avoid going to the 3 lower realms? Do you think that if you see a high Rinpoche or have a special dream, or you're close to some Rinpoche or close to some Lama, or you've met the Buddha, you can stop going to the 3 lower realms? No, because these beings have the definite power to teach you. These beings have the definite power to advise you, to help you, to assist you, but they do not have the power to take your karma away. And if some of these Rinpoches and some of these beings do have the karma, let me know, because I have a lot to give, quite a lot to give. But I don't think any being can take your karma away from you, and they cannot give you their positive karma. So get away from the labels, get away from the thrones, get away from the high Rinpoche, get away from you're involved with this Dharma center, you're involved with this Rinpoche. Oh, you taking refuge with that, with his eminence, his holiness, his beautiful, his supreme, his enlightenment, his Buddha, his Shakyamuni, his Avalokitara, she's Manjushri, he's the emanation, that's his 18th incarnation, that's his 300th incarnation. What difference does it make when, after meeting these famous, wonderful, enlightened beings, you're back to normal? When you go home, you're back to normal. The minute your husband nags you, you say, shh, keep quiet. The minute your wife nags you, you say, quiet, quiet. What's the use? What's the use of meeting all these Rinpoches? What's the use of bragging and talking about it? In fact, don't brag and talk about it, because it's an embarrassment to these Rinpoches, to your Lama, to your Sikhus. If you run around the same way that you are, and you never ever change at the refuge. And you sit there. It's like someone taking a hammer, hitting on the head. Why is my head hurting? Why is my head hurting? Why is my head hurting? Sitting there all day, year after year after year, hitting themselves. Why is my head hurting? Why am I having bad karma? Because you're creating bad karma. Every time you create bad karma, every time you nag, every time you say negative things, every time you shout, every time you lie, every time you hurt the other person, say harsh words, gossip, idle chatter, kill, steal, every time you create sexual misconduct, every time you beat, every time you emotionally manipulate another person, that karma will have an effect. And if we check carefully, if we look carefully with ourselves, most of us are doing that and only those things that I just listed. And that is not criticism. And that is why the sufferings come unceasingly. That is why we have all our anxieties. You think you can get rid of your anxieties by having a lot of money and wealth? Do you think you can get rid of your anxieties and worries and have happiness if you have position and power? If those were the cases that I told you yesterday and 100 times before, then every person who has that must be very, very happy. Obviously, people who have those are not happy, and people who don't have those are not happy. The people who have those wish they didn't have it, they had a simple life, and the people who don't have it wish they had that and have a simple life. So it's a vicious game back and forth. People who don't have it, oh, may I have it, may I have it, may I have it, may I have it, may I have it. That's all they recite the whole day. They go to Kuan Yin, they pray to Tara, they pray to Buddha, they pray to their gurus, they go get divinations. How can I get it? Can I get it? Can I get it? Can I get it? All day long. And then when they get it, oh, may I have a peaceful life, may I have a peaceful life, may I have a peaceful life, no anxiety, no anxiety. All the time, it's a vicious circle. Whether you have it or you don't have it will not affect your happiness. Whether you get it or you don't get it will not affect your state of mind. The only thing that will affect your state of mind is rooting out your delusions. The actual delusions. Hatred, ignorance, and desire. And all extensions of those delusions that create these negative karmas. Now you say, okay, sounds wonderful, sounds simple. How do I root it out? Actually, very simple. Buddha was so compassionate and so kind to give us guidelines, give us rules, give us examples, talk about the examples and rules and tell us about the effects as I talked about yesterday, which is the 10 non-virtues to be avoided. Buddha has told us specifically what to avoid, what not to do, and those rules are designed to protect us from our delusions. Actually, they're to protect us. They are not to imprison us. They are not to cage us in. In fact, they are to protect us. Like on a veranda, when you have a gate, it is meant to protect you from falling over, not to imprison you in your little apartment. So those rules or those non-virtuous acts are meant to be explained to you that they will bring about these results. If you avoid them or you break them or you consciously not practice them, you are helping yourself increase your delusions. If you practice them, you are helping yourself decrease your delusions. It's very simple.